One evening that seemed as peaceful as any other, a woman named Kyung appeared, wearing a sparkling golden floral dress. She entered a luxurious restaurant, placed her bag down, and sat at her usual table. It was the same place, the same day she had chosen for years. As always, she ordered the gogung dish, her favorite. The restaurant owner, who happened to be her real mother, came over to her immediately. Her face was filled with anger, because every year on this same day, Kyung would come and order the same dish. Her mother had abandoned her in childhood, leaving her to be raised by her grandmother. Kyung knew her past well, but she wasn't there to seek her mother's lost love or pity. She came only to see the face of the cruel woman who had left her behind, and to warn her mother, as the person her grandmother loved the most. Her voice was cold and sharp, drawing the attention of everyone around. All these years, you must have cried quietly. I know it's because of me, but if I ever find out that my grandmother cried because of you, I swear I'll strangle you with my own hands until there's no emotion left on that face. Her words struck like a knife at her mother's pride, turning the once elegant restaurant into a chilling silence. In the daughter's eyes burned only hatred for the mother who had abandoned her. Kyung stood up gracefully and walked away, leaving her stunned mother behind. The restaurant owner now looked as though her dark secrets had been ripped apart in public. But Kyung didn't look back even once, perhaps because, to her, that woman had never truly been a mother. Back at her hotel, Kyung sank into a large bathtub. With a sorrowful gaze, she stared into the emptiness, lost in thoughts filled with unbearable pain. The next day, to escape her deep sadness, Kyung decides to book a trip to Dubai to unwind like everyone else. In the midst of the vast desert, she suddenly stumbles upon a strange, old lamp. That deep sadness gave way to fury. Her long-suppressed anger finally exploded. She imagined the sand in front of her as her cruel mother's face and began striking it violently with an old lamp. After releasing all her rage, she threw the lamp away, but something strange happened. The lamp spun around and landed right back at her feet, as if fate itself was mocking her. In her anger, she unknowingly released Iblis, a genie who had been trapped inside that ancient lamp for thousands of years. From the lamp poured thick, golden smoke that swirled rapidly before taking the shape of a tall man with long hair. Coincidentally, this very genie had once caused Kyung immense suffering 983 years ago, sending her to hell, where she had been trapped for nearly 1,000 years. Kyung was still in shock when the man started speaking nonsense. I am a genie born of fire. I am the soul of this lamp. Kyung couldn't understand what was happening. All she saw was a long-haired man jumping around like some motivational speaker at a marketing seminar. Furious, she turned away and walked off, leaving him behind. The first time in nearly 1,000 years that the genie had been ignored by his master. When she returned to her hotel, she found him sitting right in the middle of her luxurious room. Not only that, he had scattered hair accessories all over the corners of the room. Kyung was stunned. How had he gotten in? Iblis answered arrogantly, I'm a genie. I can pass through any crack or corner. He teased her for not recognizing him, that they had met 983 years ago. Kyung frowned and thought hard, but she couldn't understand. The idea that they had met 983 years earlier made no sense to her. How could she remember a muttering long-haired man from hundreds of years ago? Then, innocently, she asked, Did we meet so long ago? This made Iblis so furious that he shouted, Yes. Can't you see my hair is spread all over this room? But Kyung gave him a sidelong glance and joked openly, It's been 983 years, and your hair has grown so long. But why hasn't a single hair grown on your beard? That sentence struck his pride like an arrow, and Iblis covered his face in embarrassment. Tired of his constant rambling, Kyung looked upward, hoping for some peace in the room. But it wasn't that easy. Iblis clung to her like a disturbing shadow. He whispered in her ear like a stalking animal, telling her about his long, bitter days in the lamp, his hatred for the world, and even how he had sent his servants everywhere to find his master. Sometimes, hearing news from the outside world through his servants was his only breath while spending 800 years in darkness. He always thought about his purpose, how many wicked people he had sent to hell. But because one of them was innocent, he had to bear all the blame. The injustice still tormented him, and he prayed to be revived, so he could meet Kyung again and finish her once more. This sad and long tale went on until midnight, leaving Kyung disturbed. She pretended to sleep, but Iblis didn't leave and waited for her to wake up so he could continue talking. He had become like a wandering spirit haunting her. By the next morning, he had been muttering non-stop and had forgotten what was necessary to be freed. When Kyung asked, So what do you want from me? He remembered and laid down his condition. I I want you to make 3 wishes. Not 1, not 2, but all 3. Provided you don't wish to revive the dead or see the future, I can grant anything." His eyes gleamed with cunning, and his tone was arrogant and mysterious, as if he were trapping her in a web with no escape. Kyung folded her arms, lightly smiling, with no trust in her eyes. "You're really a bad person, only knowing how to trap people." This made Iblis laugh proudly. "You know that too? I've been bad since before Christ." This angered Kyung immensely. She immediately took a small knife from the dining table and pointed it at him, threatening, "If you keep rambling here, I'll send you straight to heaven." He was startled, confused, and asked, "Why have you become like this? Was your honesty all a lie over the past 900 years?" From Iblis' memories, it was clear that in her past 3 lives, she had always been born as an honest person, ready to sacrifice for others. And now, she had become a stern person who didn't hesitate to threaten him with a knife. Instead of despairing, Iblis smiled with delight. He thought this life was very interesting because she would draw a knife over the slightest matter. He liked that very much. As they talked, a motorcycle suddenly zoomed by. He turned red with anger. He scolded his servant for roaming outside for 900 years without telling him that humans had invented 2-wheeled vehicles. He barely escaped unharmed. Kyung then reminded him, "You're not safe." He realized his feet had moved separately and run off. At that exact moment, Kyung's phone rang. It was her grandmother calling to check on her, reminding her to take her medicine, avoid frozen food, and most importantly, stay away from gossiping men. If anyone says you're beautiful, ignore them. After that, Kyung continued her trip to Dubai, but Iblis stayed right behind her, muttering constantly like an unskippable YouTube ad on a crowded street. He scolded her openly, but unfortunately, only she could see him, leaving the people around thinking she was insane. When Iblis said himself, "I've cast a spell, so no one can see me except you," she became even angrier. In a fit of frustration, she drove to a nearby lake and threw the lamp directly into it, thinking she was finally free. But when she returned to the hotel, he was standing there, drying his endlessly long hair in the living room as if nothing had happened. Unable to tolerate it any longer, Kyung sold that lamp cheaply, hoping to break this troublesome bond. But Iblis arrogantly declared that now that he had accepted her as his master, he could find her anywhere. He even returned the exact money she had sold the lamp for. Frustrated, Kyung decided to find another genie to teach him a lesson, but Iblis anticipated her move. He even pretended to be another genie, leaving her astonished, asking herself, "Are all genie like this?" When she realized he was joking, she grabbed the nearby lamp and slammed it hard on his head. Kyung shouted loudly without hesitation, "This is the punishment for deceiving you." But Iblis quickly recovered and, smiling, challenged her, "You're no less. You were trying to find another genie to kill me, weren't you?" His words hurt Kyung's pride, and she paused. For a moment, she remembered her friend's advice. In tough situations, give a confident smile and change the conversation. But she said and did nothing, as the trickster always defended himself with his sweet tongue. She had no chance to escape. Finally, she had to attack his pride directly, taunting, "What's so special about a genie? Can it fly like Superman?" Before she could finish, he touched her, and they soared across Dubai at incredible speed. She was filled with fear and excitement. The scene looked like something from the Marvel Universe. When they stopped on a rooftop, Kyung stayed calm and even asked with curiosity, "If we fell from this height, the skull would break first, right?" Before he could answer, she pushed him, making him stumble in anger. He immediately flew back, fixed his bones, and grabbed his neck, forcing him to apologize, which she considered her first wish fulfilled. But Kyung remained firm, declaring there was no use in doing so. After arguing, Iblis finally showed his demonic face and admitted that if he granted all 3 wishes, he would immediately take her life. His eyes burned with cruelty like a red fire in a dark night, as if he wanted to devour Kyung. But she was not scared at all. Instead, she laughed loudly, her laughter echoing across the rooftop. She said challengingly, "Then go ahead and grant the 3rd wish and throw me down, because right now I feel very happy." Kyung's words left Iblis stunned. He couldn't believe anyone could laugh at the edge of death and asked, "Happy?" Kyung knew that because of the bond, he couldn't harm her. She laughed and replied, "My life was boring, and now it's so much fun that my heart is beating fast." This angered Iblis further. He grabbed her neck tightly, lifted her into the air, and pushed her down, fulfilling her wish. Kyung fell rapidly, but her face showed no fear, only a bright, echoing smile. Just as she was about to touch the ground, Iblis pulled her back, inhaled her scent in a twisted way, and confirmed that she was indeed the little girl. He still held her neck tightly, glaring at her with suppressed hatred, and roared angrily. Have I become too arrogant? Have humans become so corrupt that they don't even need to be tempted? But Kyang showed no trace of fear. She reversed the question. Were you scared when you fell? Before throwing me, could I have sent you first? This left him astonished. He warned, if you dare touch me again, your entire family, from the eldest to the youngest, or any living being, will perish. I will watch you suffer, then disappear into the air. Kyang screamed from the rooftop, repeatedly telling Iblis to let her down. Iblis finally sat at a bus stop, observing how modern humans work. Eventually, he saw a four-wheeled vehicle called a car, as Saeed had mentioned. While bored and thinking what to do next, he heard a familiar roar. As he had guessed, a black tiger named Saeed peeked out from a luxury car that had just stopped. His roar attracted a curious crowd. Iblis stood up and told Saeed to come out, but the mischievous tiger told him to wait in the desert. He also said Iblis looked like someone from ancient times, and the desert had changed a lot, so don't be surprised. Offended by being humiliated by the little mistress, Iblis roared, "Get out of the car quickly!" It turned out that this black tiger, Saeed, had been born from a tear that fell on Iblis' black hair. After hundreds of years of separation, meeting again made Saeed very happy. He ran and hugged his master, sniffing the scent under Iblis' arm. Iblis pushed him and teased, "Did you get a new master, so you became fat?" Saeed just smiled lightly and replied defensively that he only earned for survival. Iblis explained to Saeed that this time finding a master had been difficult because Kyung didn't need a wish, which frustrated him greatly. The next morning, when Haeyoung boarded the plane to return to South Korea, she saw that Iblis, who had been angry yesterday, had followed her onto the plane. Not only that, he occupied her seat, ate to his fill, and then vanished through the ventilation grill. She felt as if she were going mad. People who love someone accept everything about them, and when they hate someone, the hatred fills their whole being. No matter how beautiful someone is, if you hate them, you cannot love them. She stood beneath the ventilation grill and shivered. The hair on your head and mine are very similar. Better you cut it or go bald. I use hair essence every day, he said, suggesting she change her hairstyle. At that moment, an air hostess sister looked at Kyung in surprise. Kyung went home and met her grandmother and some aunts gossiping at the village gate. Seeing their amazed faces, Kyung asked, "What happened?" One aunt gushed, "Our Kyung is becoming more beautiful every day. Are you in love?" Kyung accepted the compliment about her looks, but flatly denied being in love. Then Aunt Pangyu asked, astonished, "Who is that tall boy?" Kyung, unsure what to say, lied that he was a souvenir she got on a Dubai tour. Hearing that, another aunt praised Kyung for bringing along her foreign-to-be husband. Kyung contradicted them, saying they weren't husband and wife. They were just sharing a room. Her grandmother was deeply shocked. She welcomed Iblis warmly and invited him to sit and drink water, repeatedly telling him he didn't need to ask for a wish. Iblis replied that wishes were difficult. "If you want to take my life, why not end me by making a wish?" he challenged. Offended by his words, Kyung picked up a nearby tool and declared there was no need to wish. She could kill him with her own hands. Just as she was about to strike, her grandmother opened the door. They grew curious when they saw their granddaughter standing alone with a shovel, talking, and the tall man was nowhere to be seen. Her grandmother became worried for her. Her grandmother grew worried, wondering if her dear granddaughter had stopped taking her medicine. She quickly asked Kyung about it. Meanwhile, Iblis's strange behavior was making everyone think that Kyung had gone mad. This angered her even more, and she wanted to destroy him, because just seeing that creature before her made her feel insane. Hearing this, her grandmother immediately stopped her and reminded her of the promise she had made long ago. Hearing the ticking sound of the clock calmed her anger. In the past, little Kyung often asked herself why her parents and sisters never came to visit her, and why they had gone so soon to live with her grandparents. After all, she had only knocked over her mother's parrot. She hadn't killed anyone. The child suffered from a strange condition. She lacked emotions and couldn't control her anger. Whenever her rage reached its peak, her grandmother would teach her to listen to the ticking of the clock to calm herself. That habit stayed with her even now. She had promised her grandmother that she would never hurt anyone and would live a long life with her. Over the years, Kyung had become her grandmother's greatest pride. She was the top student in the province and got admitted into a prestigious college, making the whole village proud. However, as she grew up, she chose to become a car mechanic. Now, her grandmother watched her accomplishments with mixed feelings, wondering how her granddaughter could be both the pride and the shame of their village at the same time. Iblis was standing beside her, and her grandmother took the opportunity to question her supposed future son-in-law, asking where he had graduated from and what his scores were. When Iblis awkwardly avoided the question, her grandmother immediately realized that he had no education. Angrily, she said, "You should have studied at least a little. How can you be so weak-minded?" Frightened by her temper, Iblis ran to hide in Kyung's room and advised her not to disappoint her grandmother any further, because her anger was truly terrifying. By accident, he touched a nearby projector and jumped back in surprise. Ever since his release, he behaved like a curious 3-year-old child. The more he was told not to touch something, the more he wanted to play with it. Everything fascinated him. Annoyed by his intrusion into her private space, Kyung shoved him hard, and Iblis fell to the floor. Embarrassed, he claimed that superheroes were modeled after genies, the very beings humans had always wanted to see. Kyung kept denying his nonsense, but he wouldn't stop talking, which made her even angrier. So she decided to educate this ancient fool about modern entertainment. "This is Marvel, and that's Disney. You two belong to different worlds, have different audiences, and can never be the same," she explained. In the middle of their conversation, Kyung realized how truly foolish this ancient genie was when it came to reasoning. She stopped trying to explain and went back to reading her book. Iblis, insulted, shouted angrily, "A genie like me doesn't need anyone's permission." Eventually, he had to seek help from his servant, Sate. Sate took him to an internet cafe where he posted a powerful status update about his master. But instead of admiration, people mocked him and flooded him with insults, humiliating the genie. Sate sensed something was wrong and quietly tried to slip away, but when a genie is angry, no one is spared. Iblis took a deep breath, and then the internet cafe's electricity suddenly cut out. The customers were furious. The genie grew scared and realized who the real boss was. That afternoon, Kyung drove her shiny, mint-colored supercar around the village. When she heard someone gossiping behind her, she stopped by Aunt Pac's vegetable stall. She clarified that she had an antisocial multiple disorder, not insanity, as Aunt Pac had claimed. After saying that, she reminded Aunt Pac to use sunscreen to look beautiful, then pressed the accelerator and drove off. Aunt Pac's niece asked if Kyung's condition could kill people. Aunt Pac denied it. The whole village had raised Kyung. Suddenly, Iblis dropped in and asked how everyone was. Pac Ani and her granddaughter were both startled. Hearing Pac Ani speak, he became curious because she was considering him as a future son-in-law. So Pac Auntie eagerly began to explain. In the old days, when Kyung was in primary school, she always wanted to harm animals. At first, this caused a commotion throughout the entire village. News spread through the village, and slowly a positive change began in the girl. The kind villagers never spoke ill of little Kyung or abandoned her. Instead, they used the very things she once wanted to use to harm people to teach her useful skills: reading and writing, carpentry, and how to make rice cakes. In this way, they balanced the lonely child's life and raised her into a beautiful, highly intelligent young woman. That night, while driving through town, Iblis spotted 3 flashy vehicles owned by villagers and asked Kyung to buy them. The grand entrances of those 3 cars opened Iblis's eyes wide. Things got a little awkward when Iblis rubbed his nose against the village chefs, causing the chef to twitch. Just as the chef was about to hit him, Iblis used a disappearance trick, leaving Kyung to deal with the aftermath alone. After fixing the trouble Iblis had caused, they went to the supermarket. There Iblis jumped around excitedly, fascinated by everything, while Kyung hid her face in embarrassment. She warned Iblis that Minji was dangerous because her rules were stricter than heaven's. Iblis asked, surprised, "Who is this Minji who shows such authority?" At the golf course, Kyung's best friend Minji was being held in a toilet because a guard thought she was a man. There, Minji met Iram, the secretary of the Ryu company, who had a contract with Minji's clinic. Ijale seemed like a suspicious man involved in a dangerous conspiracy. He lived by one principle: no money, no value. Meanwhile, Sate got Iblis hooked on a video game outside the village shop, and he played day and night. Driven by pride and competitiveness, Iblis decided to challenge a schoolchild to a match. But his pocket emptied and he went to Kyung to ask for money. She refused. When he insisted it was the last time, she accused him of trying to steal money. While he protested, Iblis accidentally revealed that he had taken money from Kyung's grandmother. This made Kyung furious and she chased him. When she caught him in the middle of the road, she slammed the accelerator and crashed directly into him, sending him flying. He flew through the air. He thought he would meet a fairy on the moon, but instead, he met his servant. Meanwhile, Kyung went to her friend Minji for a dental check, but Minji scolded her for bringing a genie home and warned that Kyung might be the last person to get away with that. After a bit of gossip, they left. The staff said Kyung visited the clinic every day, but only talked with her friend and enjoyed listening to the sound of the dentist's instruments because she liked it. Back in her garage, Kyung started her workout. Suddenly, Iblis appeared in a ball of flame that burned everything. When Kyung tried to leave, he slammed the door shut. From the other side, he made an angry face that infuriated her. She warned him, "You've lost one chance. If I get out of here, I will shred you to pieces and blow you away." When he thought Kyung would give up and compromise, she actually came out through another door, swinging a baseball bat. Iblis trembled and stood stunned when he saw her. Without a word, Kyung lunged and struck him hard. He staggered and fell. Before he could recover, she landed blow after blow. Each hit felt final. He screamed and begged for forgiveness. But Kyung's fury and exhilaration only grew. She didn't stop until people rushed in to pull her away. By then, Iblis's human-like form had been ruined, his pride wounded and his hands battered. Still, Iblis insisted that every strike increased love, and he shouted at those who intervened, driving them off. It was time for dinner, so Kyung ordered Iblis to clean everything before she returned to bathe. "If things aren't back in place," she warned, "I'll tear you into 4 pieces and send them to God by post." When Iblis tried to put on a show of defiance, she punched him, knocking him unconscious. That night, Kyung kept to an unbreakable ritual. She ate gamjatang with Minji every Wednesday. Minji was astonished that Kyung could sip the soup so calmly despite everything, and suggested switching to seafood soup. Kyung said if she broke this habit, she would be in danger. She might even kill someone. It was an unbreakable rule and a promise to her grandmother. All the while, Iblis hid inside the water purifier listening, but Kyung caught him. He pretended to vanish, forcing Kyung to shout for him alone, which she did, loudly. On her way back, she buys a hair clip for him and sets the condition that he must wear them whenever he is around her and tries to pull his vanishing trick. But Iblis bargained. He demanded that she fulfill one wish to show sincerity, and only then would he wear the clip. So, she also set her own condition. "You fulfill the wishes of any 5 people on the street. If 3 of them become corrupt, I will fulfill all your wishes and disappear as you desire." And this was Kyung's first wish, a condition that gambles on human nature, which even surprised the 1,000-year-old genie. Iblis still couldn't believe it and asked, "Are you really wagering your life to prove yourself to humans?" He shouted that she would lose and then beg him for mercy to live. Before he could continue, Kyung shut him up. "Show me first, then boast," she said. Ashamed, he replied, "I'll show you first, then prove you wrong," and walked away. On his way home, they met Kangheim, the daughter-in-law of Ant, and seeing this woman's face made Iblis very happy, because she was waiting for the world would come to an end. These were the basic signs of people about to be corrupted. The next person who appeared was a bank employee, Kyung's former classmate from 12 years ago, Go Bojang. As soon as Kyung saw her old friend, she began trembling uncontrollably, which made Iblis uneasy. But he was pleased, thinking things were starting well. The woman's face looked exhausted, and Iblis confidently declared that both of them would soon fall into corruption. Just as he was boasting, a small poodle suddenly appeared and started barking loudly, startling him. Kyung glared at him and asked, "Why is the dog barking at you? Did you remove your hair clip again?" He quickly had to prove his innocence. "Dogs are special creatures," he explained. "They can see me no matter what form I take." Kyung replied with surprise, "What an amazing dog," and turned away to leave. But the genie stayed behind, playing with the dog. Not only that, but he also demanded to grant the dog a wish, which confused Kyung, who shouted, "What nonsense are you talking about? Keep the dogs out." But Iblis argued that if he counted living creatures, then dogs should count too. Kyung was stunned by the thought of this crazy person. Kyung was left speechless by his bizarre behavior. That night's next target was Om Sang-tae, Aunt Sa's son and the owner of a potato soup shop. The final person appeared soon after, a YouTuber who had returned to the village with his wife to film content. Now there were 5 people in total. Iblis was fully confident that his powers of temptation would corrupt them all, 5 out of 5. He wanted Kyung to see that he didn't even need to try. Humans would willingly fall into their own misery. With arrogance, Iblis said, "Humans reveal their true nature only when their desires are fulfilled." Hearing this, Kyung turned to him and asked, "Then tell me, if I had a desire like that, what would I be?" He grinned wickedly and replied, "With a psychopath's desire like yours, for humans and one animal will become corrupted." Then he reminded her, "In the world of genies, there are good and evil ones. Among them, there is one who summons hell. His name is Iblis, the very being humans call the devil." At that moment, Kyung realized, "Oh, so I've met an evil genie." That night, She dreamt of herself wearing torn clothes, her face covered in dirt, sitting among piles of gold and silver treasures while laughing arrogantly. The image was a symbol of human corruption. Suddenly, she woke up, touched her cheek, and gave a strange little smile. Something seemed to stir within her, but the moment she remembered what she had seen in the dream, fear washed over her face, and she quickly forced the smile away. The next morning, Iblis, dressed in a white suit, sat in front of the grocery shop beside Saeed, getting scolded, because Kyung's first wish had once again been for someone else. Saeed even called him a psychopath, to which Iblis proudly declared himself the devil. Still, his face fell. He didn't want to lose this bet. He thought back to all his bragging the day before and decided that in his next life, he'd make a comeback. For now, he planned to stay far away from Kyung and hide for a while. So Iblis returned home, grabbed his flying carpet, and set off. When he saw Grandma cooking bibimbap, mixed rice, he snatched it up and began eating it mid-air to satisfy his hunger. But while he was flying and eating, a fighter jet detected him, and the news spread everywhere. Kyung grew furious. Because of Iblis's reckless actions, two nations were on the verge of war, while he sat calmly eating bibimbap. Even after being scolded, Iblis couldn't stop thinking about one thing. Why had Kyung refused to end her own life in his place? Iblis travels back to the past, to October 1909, in Harbin, China, searching for answers to his questions. There, Kyung was on a secret mission when Japanese soldiers started chasing her. Just then, Iblis appeared like a shield and took all the bullets himself. His body was riddled with bullets, but Kyung thanked him and said, "We'll meet again in the next life." Iblis still found no peace, so he traveled again, this time to the year 1592, during the Roshuan era. There, Kyung was a royal messenger. Iblis shouted her name loudly in front of the royal court, which frightened the emperor. The emperor immediately ordered his execution. This whole story was being narrated in a historical radio program. While fixing her car, Kyung was shocked to hear it and wondered what was happening. Just then, Iblis returned with a deformed head that hadn't even been properly attached. When Kyung curiously asked where he had gone, he said he had gone far away. Kyung sensed he was hiding something, so he accused him. "You asked me to make a wish, but when I did, why didn't you make it? Are you planning to put it off again?" Iblis then changed the topic and said, "A lamp only appears when a person is in the deepest pain." When Kyung asked, "If nothing changes in these lives after the wishes are granted, what will you do with me then?" Iblis took her the next morning to the rooftop of a newly built skyscraper in Azale. He had brought her there to get a special pen. He said, "Whatever is written with this pen becomes true. Even a lie written with it turns into reality, no matter how much the world changes." Kyung was still thinking about it when Azale arrived. She panicked, wondering why they had climbed the tower without permission. But Iblis said, "There's never a need for permission between us." Then he told Kyung, "When Azale comes close, pluck one feather from his wings." Kyung didn't understand what kind of plan this was. Suddenly, Iblis reached out and pushed her off the rooftop. To save her, Azale immediately spread his wings. Remembering what the genie had told her, Kyung quickly plucked a feather from his wing and ran away. Azale was furious. His feathers had already been falling out for days, and now someone had stolen one. As soon as he gathered his feathers, Iblis appeared before him and warmly greeted his 1,000-year-old brother. After meeting again after a millennium, the two brothers immediately began to fight, reliving their old memories. They decided that this time, after returning, they would fight one final battle. Without wasting time, Iblis made a hole in Azale's precious building, a direct challenge to him. Finally, the most thrilling show had begun, a battle between the devil and the angel to prove who possessed true power. Meanwhile, holding the feather in her hand, Kyung wondered what to write. To test if Iblis's words were true, she tried writing a few lines. She wrote something that had haunted her for years. "I am a burden to my grandmother." But suddenly, the writing on the page changed. It now said, "I am my grandmother's strength." Kyung froze for a moment. Then, with innocence, she said to her grandmother, "I've been wrong all this time. I'm your strength, not your burden." Her grandmother was overjoyed and praised her little granddaughter for being so smart. Meanwhile, Kang Imsen was being scolded by her manager for always coming to work in dirty, torn clothes, and on top of that, never wearing makeup. While cleaning, Imsen found a magical lamp hidden among the boxes. She rubbed it gently, and Iblis appeared before her, granting her 3 wishes. Without hesitation and driven by jealousy, Imsen made her first wish. "I don't want to remain a contract employee for the next 20 years. I want to become a branch manager." As soon as she was promoted, Imsen immediately lashed out at her deputy manager. the one who always pointed out everyone's mistakes. She even mocked another colleague who wore heavy makeup and wandered near the free sample counter, showing off her perfume. Imsun took revenge for all the years of humiliation and frustration she had silently endured for over 2 decades. Meanwhile, Kaeong arrived at the supermarket to see how much Imsun had changed. When Kaeong asked about the last time she changed her car's oil, Imsun arrogantly replied, "I'm planning to buy a new car soon, so don't worry." Hearing that, Kaeong felt disappointed. She had just lost a loyal customer. Nearby, Iblis was explaining how he manifests himself before humans as a genie, but Kaeong wasn't paying attention. She was lost in thoughts of her friend Minji. This annoyed Iblis, and he asked angrily, "Who is Minji? You keep mentioning her again and again." In the past, Minji used to be bullied by school thugs, and Kaeong was the only one who always stood up for her. Not only that, they were best friends. When Kaeong noticed that Minji was weak in studies, she took responsibility to tutor her. For Kaeong, Minji was her only friend, and for Minji, Kaeong was the light that always stayed by her side and brightened her life. The two quietly grew up together, each in their own way. Meanwhile, Azael was listening to a report from his servant about Iblis's situation. The servant told Azael that once Kaeong made all 3 wishes, Azael would finally be able to behead his longtime enemy, Iblis, something he had desired for centuries. Hearing this made Azael very happy. At first, he thought Kaeong wouldn't make any wishes at all, but this first one turned out to be just a coincidence. Maybe he needed to study psychopaths again. When he asked about Iblis, he learned that Iblis was still busy drinking beer and playing games. On the internet, there were some nasty comments trolling people who praised Azael. Seeing that, the angel Azael became furious and started beating up the person in front of him. That same night, while Iblis was playing games, he noticed a careless man throwing garbage around. When the man didn't listen even after being politely warned, Iblis called his servant Saeed to handle the matter. He even took some money from the man so he wouldn't lose his game. While teaching the careless man a lesson, Iblis suddenly met a lovely girl named Iram, who had come to see him. He went into the forest to talk to her, but then some village hunters appeared. Luckily, both of them quickly changed their forms into humans and escaped. Otherwise, they would have been caught and locked in a zoo. The next morning, Saeed hurried to Iblis to deliver secret information he had gathered from the palace rats. According to the rat boss, Kaeong's job as a mechanic was just a cover. Her real work was investing money in the stock market. From further investigation, it was revealed that Kaeong followed a fixed routine for 4 days every month. It seemed she was preparing for her death after her grandmother's passing. When Iblis learned about her plan, he decided he had to stop her, because if Kaeong died, how would he ever get his revenge for losing to her? Iblis feared that if her grandmother died, Kaeong might end her own life soon after. So, he began helping her with the farm work. While Iblis was sweating in the fields, his servant Saeed brought him cake and soda. Saeed mocked him, saying, "Whether the grandmother dies or not, just hope the master doesn't drop dead first." Then Saeed shared some crucial information he discovered while spying on Kaeong. She had asked him about her own death that happened 983 years ago. Hearing this, Iblis was deeply disappointed. He had remembered her all these years, but even after 1,000 years of meditation, she didn't remember him at all. She had already been reborn 3 times. What he really wanted to know was whether, at the time of her death, Kaeong regretted making a wish for someone else instead of herself. That question had been haunting his heart for centuries. Iblis strictly ordered Saeed not to tell Kaeong that before dying, she had made 3 selfless wishes. But Iblis didn't know that Kaeong had been standing outside the door, listening to everything. When he asked how long she had been there, Kaeong turned away and teased him for being so careless. By the end of the day, Kaeong went for her psychological checkup and then took Iblis out to explore the market. The once proud genie was now forced to act as her servant. That night, the two of them had dinner at a fancy restaurant. After dinner, Iblis took her high above the clouds to the top of the Trafford Tower. From there, the city looked like a sea of sparkling lights. Suddenly, Kaeong made a bold confession. She said straight out, "I like you." Iblis was completely stunned. When he asked her why, she explained, "You're like a car, dependable but complicated." Her words left Iblis even more confused. He was hurt to learn that he wasn't even on the list of 8 important people in her life. Angry and embarrassed, he asked, "Is that liking or hating?" Facing Kaeong's sharp gaze, all he could say was, "Fine, I'll try to improve myself." Saying that, he offered to give his mistress the most magical night of her life. The moonlight stretched like a silver ribbon, and the view was so enchanting that time itself seemed to stop. Kaeong leaned in for a passionate kiss, but her face was so cold it scared Iblis. He said he wouldn't kiss her, But Kaong took the lead, grabbed his face, and kissed him herself. Before Iblis could recover from his first kiss, Kaong said she didn't feel any sweetness on her lips, so she decided to try again. This time, she kissed him not once, but several times in quick succession. Still, it felt like nothing had happened, and she turned away indifferently. Iblis was astonished by her kissing style. Finally, he had to bow down and personally demonstrate what a real kiss looks like under the starry sky. Right after their kiss, the TV station received a report that someone was trying to hack into their CCTV system. The hacker's motive was unclear, but it turned out to be none other than Kaong herself. She only wanted to find and delete the video that had captured that memorable kiss. Meanwhile, Iblis was upset that he had lost his first kiss. The next morning, something strange came over Kaong. She began following Iblis everywhere, from home to the fields and even to the lumber factory, insisting on getting another kiss from him. To escape her, Iblis had to hide inside a coffin. To get rid of her persistence, Iblis lied, saying, "A kiss can't just happen anytime. It only counts when it's raining, and we're drinking wine. That's when real romance and emotion appear." Hearing this, Kaong got angry. "Why make such a big deal out of just one kiss?" she snapped. Realizing he had successfully distracted her, Iblis asked her to close the coffin lid so he could finally rest. As she did, Kaong muttered under her breath, "Why does this genie's personality change every second?" That night, at the bank, Borong was secretly checking Kaong's account out of jealousy. Seeing how much Kaong had spent during the Christmas sale made her burn with envy. The next morning, the manager called Borong over and asked sharply if she was really a classmate of Minji and Kaong. "There's a world of difference between you and them," he said. "Haven't you seen their bags? They're genuine brands, and they just toss them on the floor." Then he told her to bring 2 Americanos. When she served the coffee, her senior scolded her again in front of everyone for needing constant reminders. This brought out Borong's jealous and spiteful nature even more. Meanwhile, Iblis was happily heading out when he saw a couple kissing romantically on TV. He froze and got nervous. At that moment, Grandma walked in and asked, "Genie, is tomorrow's weather linked to the rain prayer?" Hearing his name, Iblis jumped in shock. "Why are you asking me that? You know I'm sensitive about these things. Why tease me like that?" Grandma looked puzzled, wondering what she had done wrong. It turned out she was talking to the smart speaker in the house, which was also named Genie. Seeing how easily Grandma used it, Iblis grew curious and asked what Kaong had been searching online. Everything was related to weather and rain prayers, which drove him crazy. At the car repair shop, Kaong was still determined to kiss the genie's tempting lips once again. She asked Saeed when it would rain that week, but his reply crushed her hopes. She screamed so loudly that even the mighty Saeed got scared, wondering what he had said wrong. When she asked about the following week's weather, Saeed quickly replied, "It won't rain next week, except on Thursday." Iblis then asked Saeed what kind of people psychopaths are. Saeed replied, "They're the ones who love only themselves." Iblis thought to himself, maybe I shouldn't have kissed her that day. But Saeed told him, the kiss was necessary. It's the first step toward what comes next. Hearing that, Iblis felt a bit relieved. Soon after, he went to a dental clinic to clean his teeth so he could stay fresh and fragrant. But when it was time to pay the bill, he realized he had neither money nor an ID card. Upon asking, the staff explained that he had claimed to know the owner of the car garage, so they began the treatment without an advance payment. Since he was a known acquaintance, Minji immediately took Iblis to her best friend to recover the money owed. When Kaong saw that troublemaker standing in front of her with a guilty face, she has no words left. The rich lady's man was now begging for help. Minji scolded her friend, saying, "You don't even know who this man is, then why did you bring him home?" Hearing that, Iblis felt deeply hurt. He raised both his hands, a signal he had learned from the dentist that meant, "I'm uncomfortable." Minji continued, "Other than his handsome face, tall height, and glowing skin, he has no good qualities at all." As soon as Minji left, Kaong punched Iblis and locked him inside the car. Feeling trapped and frustrated, Iblis started acting crazy. He kept drinking beer and spun the steering wheel for fun. Without realizing it, he accidentally started the car's engine. His servant came running to prevent an accident. Later, Iblis went to the Cherry Blossom Festival with Grandma, happily roaming around. He insisted on buying cakes and fruits. Grandma, annoyed, shouted, "Do I look rich to you? If you want something, buy it yourself." But Iblis could only ask, not buy. While walking, Grandma made an excuse and slipped away to avoid the trouble. Just then, Iblis bumped into a pickpocket at the festival. But this handsome man had empty pockets. When the thief checked Iblis's pocket, he found only a cheap hairpin. Soon after, the pickpockets got caught by the festival bouncers. When the fight was about to start, Iblis showed up looking for his lost hairpin. since no one knew who he really was. So they decided to beat him first. But it was to their detriment. Iblis suddenly vanished into thin air, and in the blink of an eye, their weapons turned into bouquets of flowers. They continued to fight, but no one was hurt. That night, the much-anticipated fireworks show began. He used this moment to surprise Kaon. But no one realized that this man was actually uneducated. He misspelled words so badly that no one could understand what he was trying to say. Back at the car garage, Izael came to meet Kaon. She thought he came to get his share back, but he was there to reveal his sinister plan. The angel had been sent by his master to keep a close eye on Kaon's every move. He would wait for the perfect moment, and the moment Iblis bowed before a human, Izael would cut off his head. Izael gave Kaon a deal. If you take my help, Iblis will never be able to deceive you again. But Kaon firmly rejected his offer. Izael's suspicion turned out to be right. When he returned to his company, he was furious to learn that all his plans had failed. Things were now even harder for him. Meanwhile, at a grocery store, Iblis was playing a game with the boy he had lost to earlier. That's when Minji arrived and asked him to join her for drinks. Iblis poured her too much alcohol. Even while drunk, Minji couldn't stop thinking about Kaon. She warned Iblis, "Take good care of her, or I'll never forgive you." They partied wildly, and later Kaon had to drag her drunk friend home. On top of that, she had to listen to Minji's complaints. Why did you come all the way to a seafood stall just because of a guy? While taking her friend home, Kaon forgot to pay the bill. Because of that, Iblis scolded her. "Why do you always call me for such small things? Why not ask your angel friends for help?" Iblis then explained, "Angels don't get along with other species. My relationship with them, it's not easy." But this wasn't just a simple rivalry. It was a war that had been going on for thousands of years. God created angels from light and jinns from smokeless fire. Over time, the jinns grew arrogant and desired greatness. Angered by their pride, God sent angels to destroy them. In that great war, Izael was the first to descend to earth to lead the destruction of the jinns. The battle lasted 300 years, and Iblis lost all his brothers in it. His remaining siblings are perhaps imprisoned forever in a ring, a lamp, or somewhere else. Or perhaps they are wandering around trying to bring rain. At the mention of rain, Kayong's eyes lit up, and he asked Iblis to find that person and bring him back. Genie knew he had made a mistake. He quickly tried to change the topic and ran off, narrowly avoiding another disaster. The next morning, Kayong was fixing a car when a man covered in tattoos showed up and started dancing, as if he was about to pick a fight. But when he saw Saeed walking out, casually drinking detergent, the man got scared and tried to flee. Seeing his pale, nervous face, Saeed assumed Kayong must have beaten up another customer. Realizing how weird the situation was, the tattooed man quickly made an excuse and ran off before getting into trouble. At the supermarket, Imsen was showing off her authority and scolding her colleagues. The other women were annoyed, whispering that she had just been promoted and was already bossing everyone around. Then Imsen looked for Genie and made her second wish. Her greed hadn't ended yet. She wanted to become a manager at a young age. She wished to go 20 years into the past and be a young branch manager herself. Meanwhile, a new family had moved into a villa in town. The son of this family had just joined the class of the village chief's daughter. After school, the boy returned home alone, which made his mother quite worried. But the boy paid no attention and kept staring at a strange man standing in the house. That man was one of Iblis's brothers, the same ones he had mentioned the night before. People simply assumed that the boy's father was busy with some important work. It turned out the man had come to thank Kaon. Seeing her calm and kind nature, he smiled warmly. He said he only wanted to thank her because, thanks to her, he found out about this area. But strangely, Kaon had never told anyone where she lived. In truth, this man had come to steal away Iblis's future wife. Sensing something wrong, Saeed growled and began keeping guard. At the lumber factory, Iblis was talking to Saeed when it suddenly began to rain, reminding him of his earlier words about kissing only during the rain. Panicking, he quickly looked for a place to hide. Kaon, with anger on her face, searched for him everywhere because she needed him for something important. But he was nowhere to be found. Only after the rain stopped did she spot him on a village road. Furious, Kaon scolded him for missing the perfect chance. Iblis, irritated, asked who had come to the workshop for repairs that day. Then he sarcastically asked why she hit him on the head when he only tried to look into her memories to know the truth. When he asked what was more important, a kiss or cracking someone's head, Kaon immediately chose cracking the head. Just then, the pet dogs started barking. Kaon gave a cold smile and said, "They're barking because they don't want me to keep them. Dogs need someone who understands emotions, and that's not me." With that, she walked away, leaving Iblis with a strange smile. She decided to grant the dogs 3 wishes, but on the condition that they stop barking at Kayong. When the dogs didn't understand, she had to ask Saeed to translate them into dog language. The whole village was soon in a stir. A tall, handsome man dressed smartly was strolling around, making all the girls swoon. But unfortunately, his behavior was anything but he was acting like a dog, sniffing around and marking his territory everywhere. It turned out that he was no ordinary man, but the very same pet dog who had turned into a human. The next morning, while Kayong was working, her grandmother called and asked her about what she had written in her diary. Hearing this, Kayong panicked and immediately set up a meeting with Iblis. She told him that Azael's magic was completely unreliable. She offered to hide her diary inside Iblis's magical lamp so that no one else could find it. Without hesitation, Iblis showed her the inside of the lamp. There, Kayong opened up her heart to him. She confessed that she was like a thorn in everyone's foot, always hurting and annoying people. That's why she had decided to remove this thorn forever, meaning she was preparing herself for a natural death. She advised Iblis to kill her quickly before Azael could cut off his head. Then she ordered that all the things she had created be kept inside the lamp. Together, they built a secret chamber meant only for the two of them. Just then, Kayong remembered Imsen and asked why Imsen, despite having so many options, still stuck to working at the supermarket. Iblis cleared her doubt. She's human, he said. People like to have fun, but only in their own comfort zones. She knows how to control the people below her. That's why she wished for such a thing. When Kayong heard him say he didn't like humans, she got angry and picked up a pan, chasing Iblis inside the lamp. Hearing the commotion inside, Grandma became curious and tried to peek in. But before she could uncover the secret, Grandma Seo called her back. Startled, Grandma quickly dropped the lamp, and Iblis and Kayong tumbled inside. They suddenly remembered it was raining outside and decided they should finish their important work that very day, but there was no wine available. Just as they were about to go out and buy some, they saw Grandma crying. Mr. Kim, the carpenter, had passed away. When Kayong asked why she was crying over someone's death, Grandma replied softly, "Living without emotions like that, isn't that a kind of mental illness?" Kayong was speechless. That night at the funeral, she overheard Grandma's thoughts. Grandma's greatest worry was Kayong herself. If my heart stops beating tomorrow, how will my girl survive? Hearing this, Kayong called Iblis and told him about her second wish. She wanted her grandmother to become young again, as young as her. It was a wish that left Iblis completely silent. "I don't want the most important person in my life to be taken away by death," Kayong said. Iblis was stunned. Before the jinn could process what was happening, the beautiful girl had already made up her mind to ask for the next wish. Even though he admired her beauty, Iblis didn't lose his sense and warned her again. "Think carefully before you wish. Look deep inside and see if it's really worth selling your soul for." But Kayong, being her usual stubborn self, firmly said, "Make my grandmother young again, exactly my age." Hearing this, Iblis was left speechless once more. According to the rule, the jinn had to fulfill the wish within 72 hours. Meanwhile, Grandma was sprinkling water on clothes, surprised that her granddaughter had invited her on a 3-day vacation to Hawaii. Kayong had already planned everything from start to finish. Her grandmother just had to pick up her bag and leave. Kayong told her that she could even tell the entire village and show it to anyone she wanted. The next day, Grandma really did tell everyone. The way she spoke made it sound like she didn't really want to go. But she pretended that her granddaughter insisted she go for a vacation and even showed the tickets and everything. She acted so dramatically that people around her got annoyed, but they also admired her. Smiling with her eyes closed, Grandma felt proud. After all, she had a granddaughter who was truly one in a million. But in every story where some people are happy, there are always others who suffer. The saddest of them all was Imsen. When she went to Seoul to visit her younger daughter, she couldn't find her even after searching from the coaching center to home. When she called, she learned her daughter was with a boy. The most shocking sight was when she found a pregnancy test in the room, and it had 2 pink lines. Angrily, the daughter shouted, "Mom, what's your problem? Who are you to touch my personal stuff?" Hanjong was beautiful, but completely blinded by love. She even said she wanted to quit studying and skip her college exams. Witnessing this painful scene, Iblis appeared out of nowhere. Seeing him, Imsen broke down in tears. She remembered her days as a supermarket cashier, when her relationship with her daughter was still full of love. The genie then said, "If you truly regret it, everything can change." But who would want to return to their old life of poverty after becoming a director? Now let's talk about Arkayo. She was counting down every second, looking at her watch, as if she was accustomed to self-centered behavior. Exactly 10 seconds remained when Kayong coldly rubbed the kettle to summon Iblis. Just then, a light flashed in the middle of the house. Kayong went out to the living room to see if her wish had been granted. This time, the handsome genie did not disappoint. Granny woke up and began asking sleepy questions. When she turned around, everyone was amazed to see her youthful beauty. Granny's appearance had changed 360 degrees. Meanwhile, Grandma had already transformed completely. When her granddaughter asked, "Grandma, were you this beautiful when you were young?" Even after hearing so many compliments, she didn't realize she had actually turned young again. She was still busy preparing to fill water from the tap, as if nothing had changed. This was exactly what the granddaughter had written in her diary. Meanwhile, after Kayong made her good wish, Izael immediately went to talk to Iblis. The moment they met, they started fighting like cats and dogs. The angel complained that Iblis's ways were old-fashioned and outdated, that he couldn't keep up with modern times. These words deeply hurt Iblis's pride. While they were arguing, the dog, who had turned into a human, came to ask for his second wish. He said, "I've become human, but my behavior is still like a dog's. Please make me more human." Iblis replied, "That's almost the same as your first wish." While talking, the dog even started speaking English. "My father was Western," he said. Hearing this Western touch, Iblis felt amused. Unfortunately, when the genie turned the dog into a human, he forgot to give him money or an ID. So in a way, he was still just a dog in disguise. Iblis cast another spell and introduced a handsome man wearing a cool suit even in the blazing heat, someone who would serve this fake human and make him rich. Even after becoming human, the dog still couldn't shake off his instincts. Soon, he ran into the two schoolboys who had beaten him back when he was a dog. Using his old tricks, he bit their hands and legs, just like before. After that, he strutted away like a true boss. He threw money in the air and said, "Take this. It's my injection fee. Don't tease the dogs again." When Kayong was washing her hair and called for her grandmother, but she couldn't find her, she immediately understood. Her grandmother had indeed come out wearing fashionable youth clothes. Then he walked through the city with pride, flashing a charming smile at passers-by. Seeing her now young granddaughter playing around, Grandma Pangum laughed and suggested they play tag in the middle of the city. To see if her waist was still as strong as in her youth, she began running fast. Not only that, Grandma even scared a boy wearing a helmet and suddenly jumping toward him. Seeing her grandmother cross all limits, Kayong quickly made some strict rules that Grandma had to follow. While Kayong was seriously explaining these rules, the genie suddenly got hungry. He began eating non-stop, stuffing himself with food until Kayong finally yelled in anger, "You're not even human. Why do you need to eat so much?" Fuming, the genie stormed off and went to sit among the daily laborers who were waiting for work. When he saw them raising their hands, he imitated them. Being tall, strong, and handsome, he earned his day's wages by uprooting cabbages. He wasn't an ordinary man. He was a genie. He pulled so much in one go that the owner had to reward him. Iblis was so pleased that he went back to earn wages the next day. While doing small odd jobs, Iblis remembered his work from before. This time, he granted a wish to a driver who had just hit a deer. "Are you crazy? What are you doing this early in the morning?" The driver couldn't believe this was a genie and wished for the deer to recover. Iblis restored the deer, and it ran off into the forest. After finishing his work, the genie got frustrated that he couldn't even shout. The driver, thinking he was just a handsome man, hit him with a stick, forgetting that he was a genie, not an ordinary human. Angrily, Iblis controlled the car and pushed it toward the driver. Mischievous and stubborn, the genie struck directly at the front of the car. The driver got up, furious, searching for the lamp, but it was nowhere to be found. Iblis explained to him that a wish is only fulfilled if a person truly wants it. "Think carefully, then call me." The next morning, a live streamer was showing the process of growing lettuce. Suddenly, the boy zoomed the camera directly onto the girl's chest to get more views. The girl read the comments, got angry, turned off the camera, and scolded her terrible boyfriend. At the same time, in the park, according to Sate, Kayong was dancing with a man from her past. Iblis, feeling jealous, went there. The man, walking calmly, suddenly tripped and fell. The genie picked him up and deliberately hurt him. Kayong had set up cameras to keep an eye on her grandmother. She felt the genie had granted her wish but given her grandmother too much freedom. 10 years ago, Kayong had donated her grandmother's hidden money, but the real issue wasn't that. She had invested her grandmother's money in stocks that kept growing, which also allowed her to pay her friends' tuition fees. Even while eating, she has to repeatedly check the camera to make sure Granny Pangam isn't acting strangely. She accidentally wished for her grandmother to grow up, and now she has to arrange for her to travel by air. Granny Pangam's friends are perplexed as to why her granddaughter hasn't went with her granny, saying she's busy with work. Kaong explained why her granddaughter hadn't gone anywhere. She was busy with work. While doing her hair, Pangam's identity almost got revealed, but a little girl's friend helped protect her granddaughter. Pangam answered all questions about his identity so easily that the granddaughter's friend completely trusted him. The scene then shifts to the boss and his assistant. The boss finds out that the assistant knows Kaong, so he adds her to the company's VIP list. The assistant, frustrated with all the chaos, starts acting just like the genie does, helping when things get tough. The assistant gets so angry that she immediately makes her first wish without thinking. Put all of Kaong's money into my account. Her wish is instantly granted. When she checks her phone and sees 10 million won in her account, she bursts into tears of joy and sorrow because her goal has been accomplished. When Kaong finds out, she realizes she will surely lose to Iblis. Without any reason, Iblis doesn't understand either. Kaong, in shock, hugs him tightly and says, "You told me to treat you gently. I did just that." Who could stop a beautiful girl from hugging someone? But that gentleness doesn't last long here. She asks why his coffin cart doesn't move. Iblis explains that his cart is his coffin. Without mercy, Kaong pushes him to the ground. Kaong, astonished, asks if a coffin can be so small. "My coffin is at least the size of a big crate." The genie is deeply disappointed. A moment ago, he had been hugged warmly, and now, because of a cart, he's been pushed away. Returning to the garage, Kaong finds a father who has left his son in her care. Unfortunately, the boy is talkative and impossible to quiet. Tired of the children, she sees her grandmother walking outside in high-heeled sandals, wobbling as she goes. At the cafe, she struggles to understand the menu. Suddenly, she finds Minji there, helping grandmother Pangam choose an order, and they laugh happily. Seeing this, Kaong becomes so angry that she doesn't even answer the genie's questions. The angel who often argues with Iblis is furious because all his money has been taken and his painting has been painted over. He immediately goes to Iblis and asks, "Why did you give that money to that stray dog?" When he gets no answer, he attacks him, and they fight. After a short struggle, the winner is decided. Isel is very angry but can't do anything to Iblis. Meanwhile, Kaong recalls old memories when she had touched that other cart. She steps outside and watches the crows fly. She sees Isel, who had lost to Iblis, and he offers Kaong the truth about how she had died in her past life. And with that, we conclude this video. If you want to see what happens next, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.